Now, well, yes, in yesterday's class, we have discussed about the different forms of a compulsory winding up and its procedures and different steps to be owned off to the company. We have discussed the parts of compulsory winding up of the company. Now, today, we'll discuss on the different procedures and its practice about the voluntary winding up of the company. Yes, we know that there are generally two types of the winding up. Firstly, the voluntary compulsory winding up, and next one is the voluntary winding up of the company. Now we'll discuss today on the topic of the voluntary winding up. What does it mean? What is the concept or framework of a voluntary winding up? Yes, we know that there are two types of voluntary winding up of the company. Firstly, first one is members voluntary winding up. There is voluntary winding up of the shareholder of the company. And next one is creditors voluntary winding up. Creditor refers to they have provided a loan to the company. They are the creditor of the company. So that's next one is creditors voluntary winding up. And voluntary winding up, it it comes voluntarily to its members and the creditors because they voluntarily appoint to the liquidator and the liquidates to the company. That is a voluntary winding up. So voluntary winding up is that when you say to the section 126 of our Companies Act, section 126 of our Company Act has mentioned about the voluntary winding up of the company. This voluntary winding up refers to it is voluntarily people. They may say that yet we have already regulated and we have already transacted business of a company more than 10 years and the 15 years and the 20 years. It is already past. 15 years has been passed. Now it's enough to regulate the company. So voluntarily we have to dissolve and we have to terminate now the company. They could say there is a voluntary winding up. So voluntary winding up, first and foremost requirement or the condition is that the company must be in solvent situation. Company must be in a solvent, now insolvent. In the situation in case of insolvent, we can say there is a compulsory winding up we apply, but for the purpose of a voluntary winding up, company must be solvent. The company must be solvent in solvent situation. So in a situation of solvent, the company can be voluntarily on off. So that's why first and foremost requirement and condition of the voluntary winding up of the company is that the company must be in a solvent situation. Company solvent and sound and good condition and the good health, good financial health of the company is first essential matter to wind up of a company. So that's why voluntary यसको मेम्बर सेक्रेटरीले भन्न सक्छ कहिले काहीँ ऋणीहरूले भन्न सक्छ यस अब हामीलाई ऋण तिर्न जरुरी छैन हामी 80% हाम्रो छोडिदिन्छौँ भनेर ऋणीहरूले भन्न सक्छ क्रेडिटर्सले भन्न सक्छ सो creditors and shareholder can say that yes we have शेयरहोल्डरले भन्न सक्छ हामीले 10 वर्ष 15 वर्ष कम्पनी सञ्चालन गर्यौं अब यसलाई टर्मिनेट गरिदिउँ भनेर voluntarily they could wind up of the company. So yes, both in the voluntary and compulsory winding up, we should have to appoint to the liquidator. The appointment of liquidator is compulsory. Without appointing to the liquidator, we can't dissolve the company. We can't wind off a company. Company हामी liquidator appoint नगरेर एकैपटकमा company winding up लाई जान सक्दैन. So that's why the certain procedures and steps has to be fulfilled by the liquidator. The first and foremost condition is that yes, the company voluntary winding up, it must be the company must be insolvent situation. And sometimes what happens for the voluntary winding up in a company, any MOA and AOA, there can be the fixed term of a company. Company को term को बारेमा कहिलेकाहीँ 15 वर्ष 20 वर्ष यति टर्मसम्म हामी कम्पनी सञ्चालन गर्छौं भनेर it can be mentioned in AOA and MOA of the company. कम्पनीको प्रबन्ध पत्र नियमावलीमा कहिलेकाहीँ voluntary winding up को बारेमा MOA AOA मा लेखिएको हुन सक्छ. So that's why yes, after the expiration of these terms which is mentioned and which is determined and prefixed in the MOA and AOA of the company, in this way company can be terminated. So if it is mentioned, it is a fixed period or prefixed period or predetermined period of a company can be there. It is mentioned in AOA of the company, articles of association of the company. In such a situation, yes, if the date of the company is prefixed in the articles of association of the company, if the date is expired, yes, automatically, voluntarily, the company is terminated and wound off. कम्पनीको प्रबन्ध पत्र नियमावलीमा कुनै त्यस्तो कुरा उल्लेख गरेर यस टर्मिनेसन हुन्छ भनेर यदि फिक्स डेट राखिदिएको छ भने in such a situation company can be wound off. Yes, in case of event of the according to articles of association of the company, yes, it is clearly mentioned at the time the company can be wound off. And next one is company must be solvent situation. So, and there is certain procedures it has to be adopted. It has to be adopted is that the resolution has to be passed. As annual general meeting of the company, the resolution should have to be passed by the annual general meeting for the voluntary winding of the company. When you say to the section, yes, our Companies Act section 126, there is certain procedures and requirement has been mentioned because a special resolution is issued by the members of the company and voluntarily the company is liquidated. Company को memberले voluntarily हामी winding up लाई जाउँ भन्न सक्छ. So for the convening of the general meeting, the prior 21 days notice has to be given for the purpose of convening annual general meeting of the company, and prior 21 days notice has to be given. This notice has to be published in National Daily newspaper twice. The notice of annual general meeting has to be published in National Daily newspaper twice. The prior 21 days notice has to be given to all the shareholders for the purpose of convening general meeting. Company को साधारण सभा बस्नु भन्दा अगाडि 21 दिनको सूचना दिनुपर्छ for the purpose of annual general meeting. For the purpose of extraordinary general meeting, 15 days prior notice has to be given. So that's why to convene the annual general meeting of the company, prior notice of the company general meeting should have to be given to shareholder before 21 days, and this notice has to be published in National Daily newspaper twice. दुई पटक यसको सूचना दिनुपर्छ भने चाहिँ this is the procedure of annual general meeting. So that's why through the annual general meeting, resolution can be passed by the AGM, and they could decide that the company now we should have to be owner to the company. They could say, so they could decide that we should have to now liquidate to the company and winding up of a company. They could say, so this is the decision they have to be taken out. So that's why yes, minimum the number notice of the prior 21 days has to be given to the annual general meeting of the company to the shareholders. So that's why voluntary winding up is a comments just after above mentioned resolution has been passed. After the resolution has been passed, yes, the voluntary winding up the date and procedures has been initiated and it is currently started. So that's why yes, the notice should have to be given. Prior notice should have to be given to convene the general meeting, and the annual general meeting should have to pass the resolution to wind up of a company voluntarily. अब हामी voluntarily company winding up मा जान्छौँ भनेर this resolution pass गर्नुपर्छ, and they could voluntarily move to to complete the process and purpose of a voluntary winding up of a company. And there are generally two types of the voluntary winding up. Two forms of voluntary winding up: members voluntary winding up, and next one is a creditors voluntary winding up. Members are the shareholders of the company. Creditors are the creditor of the company, and creditors sometimes can say that yes, they should have they could give the consent to the a company to winding up of company. So this it depends on the consent of creditor, and members sometimes shareholders say that yes, now it's enough to regulate the company, that we should have to dissolve this company, they could say. So members voluntary winding up and creditors voluntary winding up. Two types of winding up of company is there. So now, what does it mean? Where is the concept of members voluntary winding up? Yes, the members voluntary winding up, this type of winding up refers to, it is related to, is carried out when the company is solvent situation. First, the company must be in a solvent situation, and the company should have to capable and able to pay out all the debts and liabilities of its creditor, because companies should have to be capable. They should have to be capable and able to pay out all the total liabilities of the company. So liabilities totally. So this one is important matter. So without paying out the debts of the company can't be dissolved. We can't dissolve, we can't wind up a company without paying out the debts and liabilities of its creditors, of its especially its creditors. So that's why creditors liability and debts should have to be paid out first, and then the company it is dissolved. So that's why yes, declaration of solvency is the important matter for the members voluntary winding up. Company को members voluntary winding up को लागि company solvent situation मा हुनुपर्छ. Solvent situation refers to A company must be in a solvent situation. Company third political avastha. The good financial health is necessary. The condition of the financial situation and condition of the company must be in a good and sound manner at the time they could voluntarily wind up. So in a situation of insolvent, they could they could not be went into they could not go and they could not move into a voluntary winding up. Company Damasaima third political avastha voluntary winding up majana sakne. So solvency is the first and foremost important condition for the voluntary winding up. The both voluntary and creditors voluntary winding up and members voluntary winding up. This is the important matter for the winding up and dissolution of the companies. That's why, yes, after the solvency is declared, then company voluntarily they appoints to the liquidator. The liquidator is essential to appoint because liquidator, it is the duty of liquidator to calculate all the property, to calculate the debt of the company, to calculate the surplus value and profit of the company, and they calculate every property because every power is delegated to them because the whole power and whole necessary power and administrative function are generally carried out by the liquidator after the appointment to them. So they calculate the debts of the company. They calculate the surplus value and profit. It distributes to its shareholder. Debt is given to its creditors. All these things, all these activities are carried out by its creditor. So creditors carry out these things, and the necessary activities they are fulfilled, and certain procedures and certain progress reports would have to be submitted and given to its shareholder and credit holder. And ultimately, when lastly, the liquidator lastly prepares the documents and they submit the report to its concerned authority. They submit the report to the OCR, Office of the Company Register, and they submit the report and they inform to its shareholder and creditor holder, its members, and the members give the consent to pass it. And finally, lastly, they convene the last meeting. They convene the last general meeting. And the liquidator called the last general meeting, and in such a way the company is liquidated. Antima, he calculated everything. Liquidator calculates everything. It distributes the debt, it distributes the surplus value, and finally they convene the general meeting and company is dissolved. In this way, so voluntarily members they liquidate and they dissolve the company in this way. So that's why, yes, appointment and fixation of the liquidator's remuneration is very important matter. For the purpose of a member's voluntary winding up, we should have to appoint to the liquidator, and we should have to fix the remuneration of the liquidator as well. And necessary activities is taken out and carried out by the liquidator after the appointment to them, because every power is delegated to them. The power of the board of directors are seized after the appointment of the liquidator. The power of the board of directors are generally seized. So that's why they carry out every activities on the members voluntarily winding up a company in this way. So finally, the liquidators should have to submit their report and their previous report, and generally they have to convene the last general meeting of the company. Liquidators duty to call the general meeting of the company. They have to convene the general meeting, and voluntarily it is wind up of the company is wound up. So that's why appointment of liquidator for the purpose of a winding up of the company is an essential matter, and fixation of the remuneration is essential matter, and the board of directors' power after appointment of liquidator is power of the board of director is seized. So board of directors' power is generally seized. So after that, yes, during the course of liquidation, all the power of director are seized. So in this way, the power is seized. And notice, the board of director has certain power. Only power is that the power to give the notice and the power to make appointment to register is not seized. Such a power can't seize. Only the power of another power of all the powers of board of director are seized, but certain powers to provide the notice, how to give the notice. सूचना दिने अधिकार to seize. How to give the notice and how to make the appointment to any register is not seized, and except this power, all the powers are seized after the appointment of the liquidator. So all the powers are exercised by the liquidator, and really members they all finally in the members voluntary winding up, liquidator takes control of everything, and liquidator pays the debts. Liquidator distributes the all the surplus value and all the profits of the company to its shareholder and its existing shareholder and its members, and ultimately the liquidator convene the general meeting and company is finally dissolved. So that's why members voluntary winding up. Finally, the final meeting of the dissolution is called by the liquidator for the dissolution of the company, and and it is convened and company is dissolved. Now dissolution of the company. Yes, with the dissolution of the company, yes, every activity is taken out by the liquidator, and after that the final meeting is called up and bringing an end to the life of the company. Yes, the company's life is now, it is dissolved and it is termed as a dissolution. So finally, the life of the company is dissolved, it is winding up, and that we call as a dissolution of the company. And after the dissolution of the company, no corporate personality is existed here. So that's why with the dissolution of the company, no property can be held by the dissolved company. No property can be held by after the dissolution of the company. No company has the right to take the property in its own name. Company को नाममा सम्पत्ति राख्न सक्दैन, because with the dissolution of the company, the corporate personality is ceased strongly. So that's why the company cannot sue in its name after the dissolution. After नाममा मुद्दा चलाउन सक्ने corporate personality is सबै after the dissolution, it is terminated. Dissolution, with the dissolution, yes, company's corporate personality is ceased because the corporate personality is terminated. So no company has the right to file the case in the court. No company has the right to own the property in its own name. Everything, every power is seized. Every power is seized after dissolution of the company. So that's why the property of the company, if after the dissolution of the company, if any properties remain, it is in its company's name. Company dissolution भइसकेपछि पनि companyको नाममा अन्यथा त्यस्तो property देखियो भने, yes, the company will remain after the dissolution of the company. The property will taken over by the government. Yes, यो चाहिँ companyको dissolution पश्चात पनि कुनै companyको नाममा त्यस्तो सम्पत्ति छ भने, yes, it is taken out by the government. यो चाहिँ सरकारले लिने गर्दछ. That's why with the dissolution of the company, yes, members dissolution of the company, yes, its corporate personality is seized. So in the members voluntary winding up, members are voluntarily, yes, they would move into a dissolution and winding up of the company. उनीहरू यसरी winding up लाई जान सक्छ. Now the next one is creditors voluntary winding up. Yes, creditors voluntary winding up refers to, yes, creditor is generally they are the creditor of a company because they have provided a loan, they have given the credit to the company. So that's why creditors voluntary winding up is that, yes, company must be in solvent situation and creditors voluntarily liquidates to the company. It's a procedure in house the company's director chose to voluntarily bringing the business of a company into or liquidation. So that's why the creditors provide consent. It goes the meeting of the creditors they held, and the creditors provide the consent, and creditors meeting must be called up within 2 days of the, yes, resolution has been passed, because first time the resolution should have to be passed out and the creditors meeting must be called up because creditors consent is required. So it is required to call the creditors meeting. Creditors meeting must be called up within 2 days of the day when the resolution for the winding up of a company is passed, because company should have to be proposed. Companies should have to be passed the resolution first. So after pass the resolution to dissolve the company, creditors meeting is required to be called up. Creditors meeting बोलाउनु पर्छ जब companyले so the, yes, company decides that resolution has been passed by the company for the winding up of the company. Company like winding up लाई जाने भनेर resolution pass गर्यो. Yes, after that, त्यसो गरिसकेपछि, yes, companies, yes, creditor meeting should have to be called up and notice to the creditors meeting. Yes, notice to the creditors meeting along with the notice of the general meeting has to be given. The notice has to be given to its creditor and the full-fledged report of the company's affairs. It is, yes, listing out by the, yes, after it is consent, after providing the consent to the creditor, they should have to appoint to the liquidator. Creditor को meeting बोलाइसकेपछि company resolution pass गरेको 2 दिनमा creditor को meeting बोलाउनु पर्छ. After the calling of a meeting of the creditor, yes, they should have to appoint to the liquidator. And liquidator, yes, everything is calculated by liquidator and the numbers of the listing of the property, listing of the creditor, everything, listing of the property, list of the credit, list of the surplus value. These all are listed. Why? These all are listing by the liquidator, and liquidator calculates everything, and liquidator submits the report, the progress report of the winding up procedures and the process. And winding up process र प्रक्रियाको सम्पूर्ण report liquidator ले यसको creditor ले बुझाउँदछ, and then the company is wound up. So that's why notice of the resolution is to be given to be OCR as well. So yes, during the time of process liquidator, the liquidator should have to give the notice of resolution to be given to the register, because yes, with the resolution of a winding up of a company, as for the creditors winding up of the company, it is if the resolution has been passed for the purpose of creditors voluntary winding up of a company, if the resolution of a winding up has been passed, this notice has to be given to the OCR within the 10 days of the resolution has been passed. Resolution pass गरेको 10 दिनभित्र कम्पनी रजिस्टरलाई क्रेडिटर्स भोलिन्टरी वाइन्डिङ अपमा जाने भनेर निर्णय गर्यो भनेर त्यसको जानकारी गराउनु पर्छ. So notice has to be given to the OCR after the resolution has been passed in the creditors voluntary winding up. So notice has have to be given to the OCR as well. And next one is that yes, the creditors could appoint to the creditor now. The liquidator should have to be appointed. And liquidator for the purpose of winding up of the company. Yes, it is nominated as a creditor by the creditors or to appoint to the company for the resolution of the company or for the winding of the company. Yes, for the dissolution of the company, they appoint to the liquidator after that. So that's why, yes, for the purpose of creditors voluntary winding, first resolution has been passed out, it has to be passed, and then after the meeting of the creditors should have to be called, and notice of the resolution which is passed by the company's meeting, there has to be given to the OCR. It is required to be given to the OCR. After that, they appoint to the liquidator, and liquidator fulfills and carries out the different activities. Certain activities and certain procedures has to be carried out by the liquidator. They calculate the date and surplus value, everything is calculated by the liquidator as same to the procedures carried out, which is mentioned in the section 131 of our Companies Act. This liquidator duty and their functions generally similar in the both in the compulsory winding up and voluntary winding up. So all the activities which liquidator carried out both in voluntary and the compulsory winding up for the purpose of creditors voluntary winding up, yes, liquidator carries out the same duty, and they calculate every property of the company because they have the right to sell the property of the company. They have the right to transfer the property of the company because every crowd is calculated to the liquidator. For the best interest of the company, they could sue. Even they could file the case in the court as well. During the time of winding up a liquidator, sometimes for the best interest and the protection of the best interest of the company's shareholder, they could move to the court as well. This बीचमा लिक्विडेटरले अदालतमा मुद्दा समेत लैजान सक्छ. कम्पनीको हितको लागि कुनै शेयर होल्डरलाई उठाउनु पर्ने त्यस्तो फन्डहरू छ भने त्यस्तो अवस्थामा मुद्दा समेत लैजान सक्छ. So liquidator, when we appoint to liquidator, after the appointment of liquidator, yes, they have the right to exercise everything because every power is delegated to them. The power of the board of director, power of the shareholder are generally seized. Board of director र shareholder को power seized भएका हुन्छन् र liquidatorलाई yes, power is delegated to the liquidator and liquidator controls everything. They control the property, they sell the property, and they have the right to pay the debt of the creditor and the right to distribute the surplus balance property of the company to its members. They have the right. As finally the creditors voluntary winding up, liquidator pays the whole debt of the creditors. Creditors got debt rutina. Then after finally liquidator calls the meeting as well. The power of the liquidator, they have the power. Yes, liquidator have the power to sell the property as well, and they have the power to distribute, provide the paid out the debt of the creditor. Creditorको डेटहरु क्रेडिटरको जति ऋण छ त्यो चाहिँ लिक्विडेटरले पे गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ. So this is the duty of the liquidator. So during the time of winding up of proceedings, the procedures when it begin, with the beginning of the proceedings and process of liquidator, yes, they have to be take control over the company's whole affair, and liquidators would have to convene the general meeting, and finally liquidator calls the meeting of creditors. Meeting calls the creditors, and finally liquidator calls the general meeting of the company as well for the purpose of a winding up. Yes, liquidators would have to submit the progress report. They have to inform to they have to submit the progress report, books of account to OCR as well, and liquidators would have to inform to the creditor as well. Liquidatorले
OCR लाई पनि जानकारी दिनुपर्छ प्रोग्रेस रिपोर्टको बारेमा र प्रगतिको बारेमा कम्पनीको वाइन्डिङ अपको प्रोग्रेस भएको विषयमा चाहिँ क्रेडिटरलाई पनि लिक्विडेटरले जानकारी दिनुपर्छ. So they should have to be informed to the creditor and they should have to submit the progress report to the OCR within 6 months. The 6 महिनामा यसको प्रगति विवरण चाहिँ बुझाउनुपर्छ. So this is the duty of the creditor. So in this way creditors winding off a company, creditor process, and they initiate the process of winding off company. And finally, yes, final meeting is called by the liquidator for the dissolution of the company. Yes, liquidator calls finally when the affairs of the company are fully finished, when the affairs of the proceedings of a winding up is fully finished, and liquidator must do the following things. Certainly, yes, they make a report on how the process of winding up is went. Yes, they have to inform to the how the process of the winding up is went, and they conduct the general meeting of the company. Yes, liquidator calls the general meeting of the company. Finally, liquidatorले सम्पूर्ण रिपोर्टहरु प्रतिवेदनहरु तयार गरिसकेपछि yes, they convene the general meeting. Liquidator calls the general meeting of the company, and company now, yes, company they dissolve the company, and they submit every report to the OCR, and OCR declares that yes, now there is no corporate personality of a company. Now the company's name is deregistered and it is seized. अनि OCR ले भन्न सक्छ अब company दर्ता खारिज भयो भनेर OCR gives the report, or the OCR मा report भइसकेपछि OCR ले दर्ता खारिज भएको, yes, that is the given. That could notice is given by the OCR. OCR ले अब company को दर्ता खारिज भयो भनेर भनिदिन सक्छ. So the liquidator finally calls the general meeting of the company, and they have to submit the copy of the report to the OCR, and OCR gives the notice to the deregistration and winding up notice of the winding up of a company. Company winding up भयो भने notice त्यसपछि उनलाई दिने गर्दछ. Then after, yes, dissolution of the company. With the dissolution of the what happened? Yes, we have discussed that after the dissolution of the company, the effect is that yes, dissolution refers to the creditors voluntary winding is a kind of the method of dissolution and a kind of method of termination of the company or liquefaction of the company. So this liquefaction after the dissolution, what happens? The bringing an end to the life of the company is termed as a dissolution. Dissolution refers to bringing the life of the company into a liquidation or into a death, that is a dissolution, and no property can be held by the dissolved company. Dissolved company, no property can be held. Company can't own property in its own name after its dissolution. Company dissolution भइसकेपछि आफ्नो नाममा company सम्पत्ति राख्न सक्दैन. Next one, until the company cannot sue and cannot be sued. Company cannot be sued by the court after the liquidation. Yes, company can't sue in its name after the dissolution because with the dissolution the corporate personality of the company is seized. Company dissolution भइसकेपछि definitely यसको corporate personality seize हुन्छ. Then no company has the right to file the case in the court, and no company has the right to own the property in its own name. And yes, if any remaining property is there after the dissolution of the company, this property is automatically transferred and it is controlled by the government. It is taken out and taken over by the yes government. अब डिसोल्युसन भएको सम्पत्तिको कुनै प्रोपर्टीहरु बाँकी छ भने त्यस्तो बाँकी रहेको प्रोपर्टी चाहिँ सरकारको नाममा जान्छ भन्छ. So these are the processes of the creditors voluntary winding. So thus in the voluntary winding, both creditors and members voluntary winding up, we should have to appoint to the liquidator. Liquidator controls everything. Every power is transferred to liquidator because the power of the director are generally seized, or a breaker power is seized. So the public purpose of the voluntary winding up, yes, this is the first condition is that company must be in solvent situation. Company solvent situation ma huनुपर्छ, and members and its creditors, whether the voluntary winding up, whether it is a voluntary winding up or it is members voluntary winding up or creditors voluntary winding up. What sort of winding up is there? So on the basis of the members or creditors voluntary winding up, nature of the winding up, the winding up their activities is generally, their procedures is generally carried out by the liquidator. So that's why in the creditors voluntary winding up, liquidators should call the creditors meeting. For the members voluntary winding up, the shareholders voluntary winding up, generally liquidators should have to call the meeting within a shareholder, and they have to carry out activities. And the progress report should have to be submitted to OCR, and progress report and its information should have to be given to the concerned liquidator or the liquidator and concerned authority. They have to be informed. Liquidators should have to be informed about the progress report to the creditors and the shareholders
or the members of the company. So they have to inform to the concerned authority of the policy progress report of the winding up process. Winding up process को progress report चाहिँ यसको सम्बन्धित पक्षले they have to be informed. So in this way, company are generally one off and company generally it can be on up and company generally winding up. And this is the procedures and process of winding up. So that's why there is slightly differences between the voluntary winding up and the compulsory winding up. When you say to the section 126 of our company act is concerned to the voluntary winding up, 136 of our company is act is concerned to the compulsory winding up the company. And for the purpose of compulsory winding up, company must be insolvent situation. But the purpose of voluntary winding up, there must be solvency of company. The solvency of the company is essential matter. So that's why in the compulsory winding up, court provides the order, court gives the order, and it's a shareholder of the company, debenture holder can ask and can go to the court, ask to the court to issue the order for the purpose of the winding up. They could claim over it. That's how for the purpose of compulsory winding up, it is the issue of the court, and court gives the order. Court also appoints to the liquidator in the compulsory winding up. But unlike to the compulsory winding up, voluntary winding up sometimes is voluntary, is straight, so the member can say that. Now we have already regulated and already we have conducted the company more than 20, 15, 20 years. Now it's enough to regulate the company furthermore. So it's not good to run the company furthermore. So voluntary we have to wind up now the company. We have to voluntarily wind up, they could say. अब हामीलाई चाहिँ अब अहिले voluntarily हामी companyलाई wind up गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने उनीहरूले भन्न सक्छ. So this is the process. So that's why in this way company can be terminated and wind up. So the term is voluntary. Whether the term can be, there are numbers of the term we could use interchangeably: winding up, dissolution, and termination, liquefaction, liquidation. These are the terms, different terms we could use, and these are the related to the concept of the process and bring the life of the company into a death. This is the winding up. So that's why for the creation or the incorporation or the registration to the company, certain legal formalities and legal requirement is necessary. So that's why company is created by law. And for the purpose of the winding up, certain procedures and legal formalities has to be adopted. It has to be followed. So that's why company is created by law and it is dissolved by the law. So until unless it is dissolved by law, by applying certain legal formalities, even the nuclear bomb could not destroy the existence of the company. It is said in the case of House of Lords, in the case of Continental Daimler and Triad case in the 1916. So that's why, yes, company is created by law and is dissolved by law. So for the purpose of winding up, we have to follow, we have to be followed, and we have to follow certain requirements, certain procedures, and legal formalities. So these are the different ways of the winding up. So already in practice, there are generally two types of the winding up of the company, two forms of the winding up. One is compulsory winding up, and the next one is the voluntary winding up. So our Nepalese Law Company Act has also recognized, it has also mentioned, incorporated the provisions regarding the compulsory winding up and voluntary winding. When we say the section 136 is concerned to compulsory winding up, and Insolvency Act 26 as well is concerned to the compulsory winding up, and section 126 has mentioned certain criteria and procedures for the voluntary winding up of a company. So generally, there are two forms of the winding up of the company: compulsory winding up and voluntary winding up. Is there? Our Nepalese Act has also imagined, and Act has also mentioned about these procedures. Okay, now and finally, now we could see the structure of company in this way. As a structure of the company, generally, this is the structure of the company. Mathi board of director huncha. There is a board of director. The board of director, among of the board of director, it's chairperson. The chairperson CEO huncha. It means that chairperson भनेको CEO होइन. Chairperson huncha. Board of directorहरुको पनि, and then after board of director there is a CEO of the company. Companyको CEO हुन्छ त्यस पछाडी. Chairperson भन्नु बोर्ड अफ डाइरेक्टर मध्येबाट चुनिने अध्यक्ष हो, अनि बोर्ड अफ डाइरेक्टर मध्येबाट कम्पनीको काम गर्न तोकिने CEO. There is under the board of directors CEO, and under the CEO there is different department in the company: technical department, and the legal department, administrative department, and IT department. These are the different departments can be there in the company. So that's why there is, and that Sambandhamathi there is a person and board of director, and there is the C different departments of the company: economic department, financial department, legal department, administrative department, IT department. These are different departments. Under these departments, companies are working. Internal office of the companies are regulated. So this is the general structure of the company. Simple way we can understand. Okay, we're saying company को structure को simple way. Okay, well, this is the all of us the winding up of the company. Okay, the class is over now here. Yes, with this conclusion from my side, our syllabus just mentioned in our syllabus. My side, my deliberation is complete here, and from the next day, we'll begin the presentation from your side. Okay. Thank you to you all.